So today I'm facing a new problem with this water barrier, or how is it called? This is a hot water, this is a cold water, and if I want a mild water, I should mix the hot water with cold water. The trouble is that if I do that, the water is good temperature, comfortable, and after a certain time, suddenly it gets warmer. So my theory was that this cover is kind of circulating on it and it goes back somehow and closes the cold water running. So I removed that and I tested looking especially on this place whether it turns back or not, and I realized it's not turning back, but still after a certain time, even the cold water is running here, the temperature of the water gets hotter. So the first hypothesis or theory was wrong, and now the second theory or hypothesis is that there's some trouble inside of this particle. So now I'm having to have a look on it and potentially remove it, and we will see. So now I have took this particle away, and looking on it, I could see it's in a well condition. If I rotate with this, which is a tab, I can see how this is moving back and forward. So basically, if it's moving this way, it lets the water come, lets the cold water come. The cold water flows from the pipeline here and mixes here with the hot water. And even looking inside, I haven't found out any trouble in floating the water. So the theory that this is wrong was also wrong. And basically, it looks like that the problem is not with the cold water floating. The trouble might be that more hot water starts to flow this way. So the problem might be somewhere here. So now I'll be focusing here. By the way, this is this fix here from silicone fixes pretty big hole, which was made here like 3 months after I bought all of this. It was pretty expensive, and I became tired of changing the stuff like this every second month. So I fix it with this silicone tape, which is pretty efficient. Just a few drops of water coming. So that might not be a problem here. But if we find out the problem is probably not here, now I'll be looking here whether there's not a problem that after a certain time more hot water comes, and that's why it becomes warmer. Just a small point here, I placed back this tab, and now I'm trying to remove this tab to have a look in here. I have removed the screw which is inside, but the first trouble comes, I'm not able to remove the tab as easily. It's kind of fixed on it. I can turn it around and it does not want to go outside. So definitely the trouble might be here, because previously there was a trouble on this step that the cover was not rotating. So I left this open and I leave here a screwdriver to be able to fix it continuously. So saying again, the trouble might not be that we're losing cold water during the process of mixing both waters, but we're getting more hot water, and it either circulates within the inner part, turns and let more hot water to flow inside while this stays this way, or there might be, which is hardly to believe why it would happen. It might happen only with the lower pressure, maybe some pressures causes that, or there's some other trouble inside. So I'll try to remove it by hand, hopefully not damaging it much, and we'll see inside. Short point in here. Finally, I removed this. The answer why I did not want to go was that there's a lot of sedimentation from the water, and it was probably kind of blocking, fixing the tap to be removed. But after the preliminary test, I have not figured out here any problem. When this is on and this is on, this is not turning itself to allow more hot water floating. So now I'm looking inside how it looks like there, where the problem is not inside of this particle. So I have removed this part of tap away, and I find no problem. Just this plastic here is damaged, but this plastic, according to my opinion, serves that the water doesn't flow this way, which is not happening, so it's not a big deal. And this looks good. Just one thing I have figured out, that this plastic, in certain times it's higher, in certain times it's lower. So the question is where that's a problem, because it still does not explain why the water gets warmer after a certain time, like after a few seconds. I mean, if this would be like this way, and because it's like circle, so I would say it allows the same amount of water to float every time. So I don't know what's the problem with this. The system is pure mechanical. Here comes the cold water, and the amount of cold water should be same. The amount of hot water floating should be same. The hot water comes from this gas exchanger, which works on the basis that the cold water gets in, there's a flame, heats up the water, and the water flows this way to the inlet. So if you have any opinion what might be the trouble, let me know. There's just a few drops which are leaving this, so I think that's not a trouble. So yeah, the problem has no fix now. So looking deeper onto this unit, I figured out that this plastic here is kind of more demolished, and it does not have the same thickness. So I went for a shop for new plastic, which is higher. And I also figured out, looking on it deeper, there's a scratch. It's hardly visible somewhere here in the metallic part. So my hypothesis is that as it's a hot water and this is a plastic, that was kind of a hot pressure, it kind of melted down, and now we see it, and maybe it started to run through the scratch. So what can I do that I replace this plastic cover, and I'll see whether I fix that, and if not, I will try to replace also whole this segment, and we'll see whether the problem is solved or not. So finally, testing this after the previous improvement, it seems to me that it fixes partly the problem, because after a certain time the water gets warmer, but not so much. So my hypothesis continues that the trouble is in that scratch in the inner part of the tap, and so I will try to replace it completely, and we'll see whether the problem will be gone. So now I'm having a completely new inner particle, but I have figured out it did not fix the problem, as I thought that a very small scratch in this section, which was here, now you can see it may cause the trouble, but it seems to me slightly that the water worked better with the old one, just with the replacement of this here. and so I will move it back, and I'll be looking the problem elsewhere. So I put back the old one, and the new one I'm leaving for the next occasion. My last hypothesis is that there's kind of a flow which is limited, let's say, by this tap. So basically the amount of the water which is circulating through the flames in area is regulated by the tap. So if I open the tap more, this machine works on the basis if I let more water run, there is more flame, that it makes the right temperature, and if there's a lower water run, it makes a lower flame. While if I open the cold inlet, probably not so much hot water may flow this way. The hot water, the hypothesis is that the hot water is stopped in this unit, and as it stays there longer, it's much warmer than going outside. But basically, if that hypothesis works that way, if less water could flow, this machine should limit the amount of gas and the amount of flames, so the water should be cooler. Some people may ask why I don't regulate the temperature of the water by this, because this rod here says how much gas, how much flame will be there. If I place it completely here, I will have it terribly hot, and if I place it somewhere here, I will have less flames, and all this is nothing. But I figure out if there's almost no flames, the water is still hot, which is kind of strange. And the clue is maybe also because it's a summertime, the outside water itself is pretty hot, so we may not expect that in the summertime the water will be okay. And let me show you a little bit how this works. I let the water run, it lights up, and there is a certain amount of flames which makes it warm. And if I place this here, it makes more flames, so much more warmer. If I move it here, less flames. This is almost no flames. You see a little bit, they're almost dying. Let's try the water. Yeah, the water is very hot. That's what I said. That if it's somewhere here where you should expect the minimum of gas going in there, the question is why the water is hot if there's almost no flame. So that's maybe all the problem and all the trouble in this particle, because there is something wrong with that.